so glad that Breck and Rebecca and Nora and Hudson is here. They've been sick, and I know everybody here has been sick, and for weeks, and they thought they had everything headed over the pass for Nora last night, but about 3 o'clock in the morning, she got sick again. So Nora's not here. She's with the grandparents in Dayton, and Rebecca came and Breck came, and they brought Hudson. Hudson's in the nursery, but Rebecca's here. Just Rebecca, wave at us. You don't have to stand up, and everybody probably saw her, but if you haven't hugged her yet, at the end of the service, you make sure she's got a hug for everybody. Amen? And they have been anointed for a long time to minister in music and do youth, and now they are full-time just above Savannah, Georgia, in Guyton, Georgia. And if you ever fly to Savannah, you get off at the airport, and instead of going towards Savannah, just go up toward Guyton, one exit. That's where they're at, just right off the exit, just north of Savannah. And they eat with Paula Dean all the time.
Yeah. More butter.
But I'll tell you what, if there's a restaurant, Breck and Rebecca will find it. If there's a coffee shop, they'll find it. If there's a new recipe, and if you got him on Facebook, I tell you what,
Keto.
he shares every antidote and every good idea. But then when it comes to ministry, I'll tell you what, he and their pastor and their team, they are dynamic and they're growing. They've got a very large ministry, and they do ministry on Sunday and like open 24/7. And then they've got a large facility that's the youth center on Wednesday night. And so when you see things on the Facebook, Breck will, share maybe some stories about that as well. But I don't want to take any more time, but I want to say, Breck, we love you, and I'll share more about that at the end.
Pastor Mark, could you share just a minute or two of Rebecca's history, her family and stuff?
Right.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah. For anybody that does not know, and Sister Kim can sure tell you the story, when Breck was just dedicated to the Lord, even back then, when he was just a couple weeks old, we were praying, Lord, whoever you have for Breck, you allow them to come along, and whether they're already born and alive and well, or if they're going to come along. So for all of our children, Kim prayed that, and I prayed that, and we've taught that and believed that. But when Breck and Rebecca got together, we did not know until she told us the story. But back in the 1800s, her great-grandfather, 6 generations away, is Hudson Taylor, the missionary to the China mission. And he began that, and he was a doctor, and he took healing as well as the word to all of China. And again, that was the early 1800s. So Rebecca is 5th generation.
Awesome.
And Hudson and Nora is 6th generation of all of that. And so to think how God allowed Sister Kim to come out of a ministry family, her father and many people in their family line as well, and then my great-grandfathers on both sides have begun churches all over the place. In America, they didn't go as far as China, but to think that God would put them together, and oh my, what a history. We had the wonderful opportunity. Last time they were here, we got to go to the Noah's Ark in Washington, D.C. at the Smithsonian Institute. They also have an exhibit like this, but at the Noah's Ark on the top floor, Ken Ham asked the family to donate things of Hudson Taylor, and so at the very end of Noah's Ark, it tells the story of how God allowed the China mission to represent and to share the truth with literally millions of people on that side of the world. And so it was amazing to see that. And I stood there and I thought, dear God, thank you for allowing us to be just a very small part. But it's very humbling. And just think, I was talking to Sister Kim a couple weeks ago. Think how hard it is to travel. You know, if you travel, don't stop. If you travel and you like planes or boats or whatever, don't stop. But can you imagine in the early 1800s going all the way from Europe, all the way through America, all the way to China? And he did it several times. And he finally was called there, and he said, God, I'll give my heart there. And his heart is buried in China. And even the communists recognized Hudson Taylor for what he did to bring Jesus Christ to all of those people. And so I say, to God be the glory. Yeah. Let's give God praise for that. Amen? Yeah. God is good. But I'll tell you what, I appreciate, because Sister Rebecca loves the Lord, and why I'm not letting her say anything, she would take over, and she wouldn't let Breck even have the mic. I'll tell you what, but she does a lot in their youth ministry and their juniors and their junior high. And again, if you're on their Facebook, they've been able to open their home as well. So, I mean, just not at the church, but in their home and all over that area, they're winning many, many people to the Lord. And I believe that it's not going to be just 50 or 100 or just in the hundreds, but I believe God has great things. Amen? We're excited, Brother Breck. You come, we're going to receive the word today, and you just share your heart. Take 1 second or 50 hours, whatever you decide to do, whatever the Lord has. We receive it. Amen. Praise God. Raise your hand toward Brother Breck and say, we receive the word of truth. God bless you.
Amen. All right. So I'm not going to use the microphone today. I hope that's okay. I hope you can hear me. I know I might have the sniffles and a little bit of cough, but it's all right. We're going to have a good time today. So somebody say amen. Amen. All right, it's good. Good you guys are awake. I'm glad you guys are here. It's so good to see some friends that I haven't seen in a very long time. And always, whenever it's, coming back to the church, it's coming home. You know what I'm saying? This is my roots. And I'm so happy to be a part of that.
We love you.
Woo, yeah. All right, get that out. All right. Got to get a hold of my emotions. All right, here we go. All right, okay. Yeah, just real quick, though, just to reiterate what my dad has said. Yeah, we're just outside Savannah, Georgia now, which is crazy to think that I never even thought I'd be over on the coast like that. But, God has a plan, and it's awesome. I absolutely love it. Being a part of Living Faith Church, that's where we're at. Pastor Sean Faircloth has allowed me to, come up here, and he even texted me today, and he said, Breck, preach him happy. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll do it. So it's so cool that I have to be honest, to have a pastor, I can't describe to you guys being in the ministry now, and to have a pastor that backs you up.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Right.
It's like,
oh, yeah.
I'm a part of this thing called the Cadre, where it's about 40 youth ministers across the nation, and we meet up with this lady named Jeannie Mayo. I don't know if you've ever heard of her or not, but she's a youth minister in her own right of 48 years and still going.
Yeah.
48 years in youth ministry, and she's still going. And she now has a thing called the Cadre, where she pours back into youth ministers everything she's ever learned, what she would do differently, what she, all this stuff. And it's amazing to be coached by her throughout that. But meeting with other youth ministers now and everything, you hear some horror stories of where some people are in some pretty bad situations, and they have no, either financial backing from their church, or even that their pastor doesn't really give a flying hoot what they're doing, But I do have to say, it is absolutely amazing to have a pastor that does back me up 100%. Yeah. And it's so cool. Like my dad said, we are we're all in church right now, and I'm very, very thankful for that. But it's so cool to see teens on the stage singing. It's so cool to see teens on the instruments any given Sunday. It's so cool to see teens in the back running the sound, on cameras, doing live stream, taking up offering. Anywhere you look, we call it pushing them through the pipeline, is what we have a name for it. because we're taking them right as soon as they get in about the 6th grade age and start, finding where they have talents, and we're starting to, plug them into that avenue at the church. So it's so neat. Any aspect that you look, you'll see a team of some kind involved in an area of ministry in the church.
Right.
So awesome. So awesome. But another thing about just our youth ministry, Living Faith student ministry, when we got there, they were really, it's kind of funny, it was kind of like a love story coming together, because we were really in need of a group, and then they were really in need of a leader, you know what I'm saying? So it was kind of like a perfect meshing that God had for us. And they had a pretty large group in the past, but they had dwindled down. In the first Wednesday night that we took over there, it was just about a year and 4 months ago now, we had 23 kids show up that night. 23, and you're like, on any, statistic across the globe right now, in America even, that's wow. 23 kids is a huge youth group considered, nowadays. But we went there, and when we had the hiring process, we immediately told them what God had dropped in our heart and in our spirit, and that was hashtag, if you do the Twitter thing or Instagram, but hashtag Faith50. That was the thing, Faith50, because we're a Living Faith Church, Living Faith Student Ministries, Faith50.
Right.
And we wanted, within a year's time, to go from, whatever number it was when we first showed up, to 50 kids.
Right.
Not just 50 kids, but 50 hearts.
Right.
50 stories.
Yes.
And what's amazing, 9 months in, we reached Faith 50 within 9 months.
Awesome.
How awesome is that? How awesome is that? And even now, and I know it's hard to get everybody into a service on one, everybody, please show up at one service.
Right.
If we would have every kid now show up on one service, we would have 63 kids.
Right.
Show up today. 63 kids. How amazing is that? It's just like, God is just blowing my mind. And it's everyone, I've had people ask, what is it that you're doing? And it's something that my grandpa taught me, Paul Miller, if you know who he is, and he said, relationship.
Right.
Meet them where they're at.
Yeah.
Go out to eat with them. Open your home to them. Things like that. Just get to know them.
Right.
And sure enough, that's what we're doing.
That's
Getting
right.
into the schools. Going to their house. Going to coffee shops with them. Going to McDonald's with them. Go to their basketball games. Just get to know the kids. It's so cool there, guys. It really is. And I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm bragging on what God has
Yes.
done.
Yes.
Amen. So let's go ahead and we'll pray real quick, and we'll jump into this, and we'll try to just get through this today. And I hope you guys enjoy what God has laid on my heart for you today. So, dear Father God, please, will you meet us here today?
Thank you, Lord.
God, you know what? I already know that you were walking in this room before we even stepped foot in here today. Your spirit was here. You were waiting.
Yes.
God, if there's one person that it receives this word and that it touches their hearts, they got it. Every mile driven, every dollar spent to get here was worth it.
Thank you, Jesus.
God, open up our spiritual eyes, our spiritual hearts to see what you have for us today. In Jesus' most precious name, amen and amen and amen.
Amen.
So the title of this sermon today that I got for you guys is Even When It Hurts the Most. Even when it hurts the most, live in the midst of the storm. Even when it hurts the most,
Right.
live in the midst of the storm. Don't die in the midst. Don't sit
Right.
in the midst of the storm. Live in the midst of the storm. And if you're taking notes today, our main scripture that we're going to focus on, Acts 23:11. Acts 23:11. And it goes just like this. That night, this is the Message version, that night, the master appeared to Paul. It's going to be all right, he said. Everything is going to turn out for the best, he said. You've been a good witness for me here in Jerusalem. Now you're going to be my witness in Rome. And I'll read that again. That night, the master. Who's the master? God. God appeared to Paul, and he said, it's going to be all right, Paul.
Right.
Everything is going to turn out for the best. Now, if you are a Bible-believing Christian, guys, that's a promise from God right there. Let's pack it up. Let's go ahead and go on down to Chili's or Olive Garden. That's the sermon.
Right.
Right there. Believe that word. It's going to be all right.
Yes.
Everything's going to turn out for the best. Okay, let's go home, guys. That should be the sermon. That's it. Believe that word.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's going to be all right. Everything's going to turn out for the best. You've been a good witness for me here in Jerusalem. Now you're going to be my witness in Rome. Meaning, yes, you've done a great job where you've been. You've done a great job, but that's not your destiny. you're at point A, I want to get you to point B. I'm not going to tell you how your journey is going to go. I'm not going to tell you what's going to happen along the way, but I'm going to get you to Rome, Paul, and it's going to be all right.
Yes.
Whatever happens in the meantime,
Yes.
hey, I told you it's going to turn out for the best.
Yes.
So it brings me to part 1, which is the assignment. The assignment. Now, Paul was on a strict assignment. Like I said, he was a good witness in Jerusalem, but he's going to Rome. There's the assignment. He's going to take the gospel to Rome. Paul was now about to be flung into this crazy full-time thing called ministry. He's about to be catapulted onto the scene now with what is about to happen. And he's going to Rome, guys, and you have to understand this is clearly, at that time, the most famous city in all the world. You know, I mean, this was like the place to be. But the thing is, Paul would not go to Rome on his own, like, leisurely trip. Anybody been on a cruise before? Cruises are awesome.
Yeah.
Please go on one if you've never been on one. They're amazing. Really, but he wasn't getting upon, you know, some Norwegian vessel or something. He wasn't getting on a Carnival cruise line. No, he was a prisoner now. A prisoner aboard a vessel, a ship. And he was traveling there as a prisoner. He would be amongst other scallywags. He would be amongst the rats. He would be amongst other prisoners. He would be with the centurion soldiers around him. And it brings me to Acts 27, 9 through 10. Remember, we were just at Acts 23, but now we're jumping. Remember? Time is passing. Jerusalem, Rome.
Right.
Acts 27, 9 through 10. By this time, we had lost a lot of time. This is Paul speaking now. By this time, we had lost a lot of time. We had passed the autumn equinox. So it would be stormy weather from now on through the winter. Paul's kind of a smart guy. He knows his seasons. He knows the weather.
Right.
It would be stormy weather from now on through the winter. It would be too dangerous for sailing. And Paul warned, who did he warn? He warns the guys in charge, the centurions, the ship captains. I see only disaster ahead. Sometimes that's funny. That's all we like to see sometimes.
Yeah.
That's all we as humans like to see.
Right.
God is saying it's going to be all right. But we're like, but I see disaster ahead.
Hallelujah.
Isn't that interesting?
Good.
I see only disaster ahead for the cargo and for the ship, to say nothing of our lives if we put out to sea now. So now we find, again, Paul is a prisoner. He's being held captive on this boat. And he goes up to the captains, hey guys, I'm a smart guy. I read some books. I know how the weather works. I look at the clouds sometimes. Yeah, you know, April showers bring May flowers, and the summer's hot, the winter's cold.
Yeah.
And now's not the time to set sail. It's hurricane season.
Yeah.
Right.
It's hurricane season.
Right.
And they're like, haha, they laughed it off and they set sail anyways.
Right.
The captains do not heed Paul's warning and they set sail anyways. And the next thing you know, look what happens in Acts 27, 13 through 15. When a gentle southerly breeze came up, they weighed anchor. I mean, they picked up the anchor and they took off. They were heading down the river. And they were right here thinking that it would be smooth sailing. But they were no sooner out to sea than a gale force wind, the infamous nor'easter, struck them. They lost all control of the ship. It was like a cork bouncing in the storm.
Right.
Wow. Wow. Okay, side note just for a second. Raise your hand for me. I want to make sure you're awake. Raise your hand if you've ever been through a storm in your life.
Yeah.
Raise your other hand if you've been through a trial in your life. Raise your left foot if you, right now, in the middle of a storm in your life.
Right. Right.
So good, I have half the crowd in here today that's listening. It's good. So just right here, the assignment that God gives to you, because there was assignment given to Paul, there's an assignment that's given to you, a promise that's given to you. Guess what? It attracts something. It attracts something when you are doing something right for God.
Right.
When you're doing an assignment for God, it attracts something.
Yes.
What does it attract? It attracts trials.
Right.
It attracts storms. Things are going to come out of the woodwork when you say yes to God.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. Plain and
Come
simple.
on.
We see it, let's put it in just a modern, age thing. I know my dad likes to talk about football a lot and basketball a lot and things like that. Guys, in sports, if there's a good player on the other team, what do you do to that good player? You double team that player. You do not want that good player to have the ball.
Right.
Why? That good player, the MVP, they will score.
Right.
If they have an open shot or an open lane, they'll score a touchdown. They'll score a basket. So you double team that good player. That's exactly what the enemy does to you when you are a good player in God's army.
Yes.
Right.
It's true.
He will double team you. Why is that so hard to wrap our heads around sometimes? Why am I going through a storm? You're a good player. You're a good player. You're doing right. So he tries to shut you down. That's what you do to a good player in sports. You try to shut them down. You try to shut them down. So the assignment, somebody say the assignment brings about the storm. So guys, get this, and this is for someone today. What has looked like your greatest defeat, it is actually your greatest victory.
Yes.
What has looked like your greatest defeat in life, it will actually be your greatest victory.
That's right.
If you do not get shut down.
Right.
Don't get shut down. So it brings me to part number 2, the storm. So okay, moving on with this. Part number 2, the storm. 1 was the assignment. 2 is the storm now. We see that Paul is in the midst of the storm. And when it talks about a storm here in the Bible, again, guys, this was an infamous storm. This was like a Hurricane Sandy. This was a Hurricane Michael. This was something that you would have seen on the news if it was today's time. It was an infamous storm. It talks about how it was an infamous nor'easter. This is the perfect storm, a typhoon-type weather. And again, a lot of you raised your hands. We've all been through storms. And it's funny, we've all been through different storms, different levels. Sometimes you're thinking it's downpouring on you, but really it was kind of sprinkling on you. While this person over here has literally been in the midst of a hurricane. This is hurricane force winds, though, that is bearing down upon them. This boat, like I said, it was like a cork in the water. They had lost all control. They had lost all control. Anybody ever been there before?
Yeah.
Where stuff has been out of your hands,
Come on.
literally.
Right. Right.
Bouncing like a cork in the water.
Come
You
on.
don't know where left or right.
That's good.
You're drenching your pillow and your tears because it is
Yes.
out of your hands.
Come on.
Literally.
Yeah.
Maybe that's you. Maybe you've had a situation like that. You don't know where to turn to. You're bouncing around like a cork in the storm. But, somebody say but. But in the midst of the storm, amazing. In the midst of the storm, God shows up.
Yes.
For Paul's story here, God shows up and he begins to speak to Paul and he says, Paul, guess what? You will make it. You will make it. Again, isn't that funny? We read it in Acts 23. Paul, you'll make it. Everything's going to be all right.
Yes.
But again, in Acts 27, time passed. Again, God shows up and says, Paul, you'll make it. And he's basically saying, Paul, do you remember what I told you in Acts 23?
Yes.
Do you remember what I told you? God, I told you that everything's going to be here. Are you going to hold on to the promises that I told you, or are you just going to forget about it and not trust me at all?
Yes.
I told you it was going to be all right, Paul.
Come on.
I told you it was going to be all right. Are you holding on to the promises that God spoke to you, or are you going to give up in the midst of the storm? So again, God shows up and says, you will make it. You're going to make it, Paul. I told you you're going to make it. I said it in Acts 23. I'm saying it again in Acts 27. You're going to make it. But guess what? The ship you are on, it will not make it. The ship you're on is not going to make it. But guess what? You and the people around you, you're going to be all right.
Yes.
And it's funny, now he adds other people to the story.
Hallelujah.
Yes.
You and your family will make it
Hallelujah.
if you trust me, Paul.
Yeah.
You and the ones that you love,
Hallelujah.
they'll make it
Yes.
if you trust me, Paul.
Yes.
Isn't that funny? Take heart, Paul. Do not give up, Paul. You will survive in the men on the boat. They will survive also if you trust me. And then we know that's true because Acts 27, 23 through 26 says this. Last night, God's angel stood at my side. An angel of this God that he serves saying to me, don't give up. Don't give up, Paul. You're going to stand before Caesar yet, meaning you're going to go to Rome. I told you you're going to go to Rome.
Yes.
And everyone sailing with you is also going to make it. So here he is. He says, so dear friends, take heart. I believe God will do exactly what he has told me. I believe I'm going to go to Rome. Yes, we're in the midst of a storm. Yes, it hurts really bad right now, but I'm going to make it.
Right.
My destiny is out there, and I'm going to make it no matter what.
Come on.
Yes.
It hurts right now, but I'm going to make it.
Glory to God.
I believe God will do exactly what he told me.
Yes, he will.
But we're going to shipwreck.
Glory to
Isn't
God.
that funny? But we're going to shipwreck.
Yeah.
Guys, the boat's going to go down. We might car crash. We might go flying off the cliff. But guys, we're going to walk out of the wreck. It's going to be all right.
Come on.
Wow. So Paul is standing here in the midst of the storm, in the midst of the hurricane winds, and he basically begins preaching a sermon on the boat to the guys. Can you picture this? Picture it now. Go like this. Everybody go like this. You just put on a cap. We're going back in time now. Here we go.
Right.
Follow me. We're going back in time. Okay, so Paul is now on the ship. Hurricane winds like blowing against his face. And he's like, guys, gather up. Bros, come here. Hey, Carl, come here. Hey, Philip, get over here, man. Sit right here. Listen to what I got to say. God showed up last night.
Come on.
God showed up last
Yes,
night.
he did.
Guys, man, look, take a towel, take my shirt, wipe your face off. It's raining. All right, okay. Guys, listen. I have a word from the Lord. Isn't that amazing? And he begins preaching a sermon to these guys in the midst of the storm.
Yeah.
So cool. And he says, guys, I have a word from the Lord. Let's trust him. Take heart, mean believe with everything you've got inside of you.
Right. Oh, yeah.
You will make it through the storm. And the guys are like, they're all on the side, they're like, Paul's preaching a message over here. And Paul's like, yes, I'm preaching a message. They're like, yeah, okay, well, preach on. So Paul's like, guys, we're going to make it. And they say, amen, Paul. Glory, Paul. Glory, yeah. Amen. I think I get what you're saying. But guys, how many times do we do just that? We hear a really good sermon from a pastor, and he's telling you you're going to make it.
Right.
Yeah.
And he's telling you basically a prophecy of what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But the moment you go outside and the storm hits you,
Yes.
you forget everything he said.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do we ever do that?
Come on.
Yeah.
We do that sometimes. That's like the church, isn't it? That just sounds like the church. We
Yeah.
do that sometimes. We get a really good word. And man, God just lays you out at the altar. And he tells you exactly what you needed to hear. And then in the moment a storm hits you outside, doubt, unbelief, distrust, everything, just right out the window. So check out what happens here though. Check out what happens. Let me take a drink. Is that all right if I take a drink? I'll take a drink. Check out what happens right here. In the time while Paul is preaching, these men, like I said, hurricane winds against them. They're all standing there. They got their towels all huddled up. Oh man, he's going, and they're saying, "Yes, Paul. All right, yeah." And he's like, "Guys, the thing is, we're gonna make it, but it's gonna shipwreck. We gotta go down with the boat. All right, we gotta go down.
Right.
We gotta go down."
Right.
And they're saying, "All right, yeah, okay, yes, Paul, we believe what you're saying. Hey, Bill." And the last time I did this, I had a kayak on stage. It was pretty cool. But so this is my kayak this time. This is my lifeboat. They're saying, hey, open up and like let's start putting our stuff in the kayak and in the lifeboats, and let's start letting down the lifeboats just in case we need to like get off the ship. All right? And Paul's preaching, boom, boom, boom. Yes, amen. Hey, Bill, get the lifeboats ready.
Come on.
We have to start letting them down into the water because it's going to shipwreck, but we need a way out.
Right. Right.
And Paul's like preaching, and he starts seeing what they're doing, and you know they're trying to hide it behind his back. They're like letting him down, and they're trying to like cut him. And the thing is, God had a plan A the entire time,
Right.
and while the message is going on, they were already thinking of plan B.
Right. Right. That's good.
They were already thinking of plan B. Let down the lifeboats.
Right.
Paul's speaking of plan A. God is speaking of plan A.
Come on.
We're going to make it.
Yeah.
God says we're going to make it. Yeah, I believe that, but just in case.
Right.
Let me keep my hand on this.
Yeah.
And I'm believing, but I have this.
Got that?
I want to hold on to just in case your word's wrong. Huh.
Mercy.
Let's let down some lifeboats. But the thing is, Paul recognizes what's happening. And he says, no, Bill. I see you over there, Bill. Cut your lifeboat loose. In fact, cut them all loose.
Right.
We're going down with the ship. Cut the lifeboats loose. Guys, point is, get this. In the corporate world, in the secular world, you know, it's good to have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a plan D, a plan E. You know, if stuff were to go wrong.
Right.
You know, in fact, it's pretty much necessary in the corporate world, the secular world, to have that. But in our Christian faith, God must be the plan A. There is no plan B. In fact, God must be the plan A, the plan B, the plan C, the plan D. Already. Straight up. God is not a 50-50 God. You either trust what God says or you do not trust him at all.
Right. Right.
That's it. Thank you, Lord. That's it.
We're going to have to trust God for everything he says and promises. Or we're not going to trust our God at all.
Right.
So the thing is, you either let go of the plan you have for your life, let go of the plan you have for your life, or you got to trust God with the plan that he has for your life. Let go of the plan that you have for your life.
Yes.
Let go of that lifeboat and trust him with his plan.
It's good.
Glory. Yes.
Amen.
Lord. Yes.
You may not understand everything that's going on in your life right now.
Come on.
You may not understand why you had the surgery you had to go through. You may not understand, Brandon, why you're having to go through a job change right now. You may not understand everything that's going on in your life, but God's word for us today is trust me in the midst of the storm.
Yeah.
Even when it hurts the most.
Come on.
Yes.
Trust me.
Yes.
Even when it's scary and you want to hold on. Of course I want to hold on. I'm scared.
Right.
Let it go, God says. Let it go. Trust me even when it hurts the most. See, you think those lifeboats are saving you. This is the point. You think those lifeboats are saving you. And you think they're holding you above water, but they are not. Some things that you're holding on to you're holding on as tight as you can. Some things that you're holding on to, they are the very things that's causing you to drown.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guys, Proverbs 3:5, lean on, trust in, and be confident in the Lord.
Right.
Amen.
True.
Yes.
Tell your neighbor, let it go.
Let it go. Let it
Turn to the
go.
other neighbor, the neighbor you really like, and say, let it go.
Let it go.
And please don't start singing the Disney song, let it go.
Right.
Let it go. So look what happens next. We get to part 3 now. 1 was the assignment that God gives you. 2, it's going to bring about a storm. 3 now, there is a way out of the storm. There's a way out of the storm. Look at what happens next. What God told Paul would happen, guess what? It begins to happen. The ship starts rocking. The wood starts creaking and cracking and splintering. You can imagine about 16 of them were probably like plugging the holes. You ever seen those movies where they like start plugging the holes and the ship is just filling up with water? I can see that happening. They're freaking out, literally. Guys, we're going down. Paul just told me to cut the lifeboats loose. He threw out the life jackets too. Like, it's crazy. We're going down.
Right.
But what God says would happen, funny, begins to happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Acts 27:43-44. He gave orders for anyone who could swim to dive in and go for it, and for the rest to grab a plank. In another versions, it talks about the rest to grab a broken piece of wood.
Yes.
And guess what? The last part of this. And everyone made it to the shore safely.
Yes.
Right.
Amen.
Right.
Yes.
True. Come on.
These guys, these scallywags, these prisoners, these centurions, these people, they jumped ship. But look at how they survived and got to the Isle of Malta.
Come on.
We're going to talk about Malta in just a second. We're getting there. We're going to come to a close on that. But they got to their destination, just like I said, by holding on to a broken piece of wood, a plank. And in the water.
Come on.
It just totally went over your head.
Say
They got to their destination
yes.
by holding on to a broken piece of wood.
Yes. That's the word. That's what happened.
Let me read that again.
Come on.
And he gave the orders for anyone who could swim, dive in, go for it, and for the rest, grab a broken piece of wood. And yet everyone made it safely.
Yeah.
All right, it says that. Okay.
All right. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord.
I don't think you guys caught it.
Come on.
Jump in, grab a piece of wood. Yeah, they did it, and everyone made it to shore safely. So they grabbed the broken piece of wood,
Come on.
and they made it to shore safely. Hey guys, right here, God is the only one that can do amazing things with broken pieces.
Come on.
Guys, did you catch that? God is the only one that can do amazing things with broken pieces.
Yes.
Can somebody stand to your feet today and give God praise
Come
that
on.
you've been broken, you've been battered, but God still has a plan for your life because God can bless the broken pieces. get this, just because you made it through the storm, does not mean that all your trials and all your tribulations are over. But when you've made it through, you're a little bit wiser, you're a little bit stronger, you're a little bit tougher, a little bit more resilient.
Come on. Yeah.
So let's see what Paul acted like right here, and then we're coming to a close. We're coming to a close right here on this. We're coming to a close. Let's see what Paul acted like after his shipwreck. And what can we learn from him on this moment? What can we learn from him? So part 4, live even when you feel like dying. Live even when you feel like dying.
Right.
So Acts 28, 1 through 2 said, once everyone had been accounted for, and we realized we all had made it. We learned we were on the island of Malta. The natives, they went out of their way to bring it to us. The day was rainy, and it was cold, and we were already soaked to the bone. But they built a huge bonfire, and they gathered us around it. Amazing.
Hallelujah.
So they made it.
Yes.
What God said would happen, happened. They survived. Somebody say survived. They survived. And Paul was soaked. He's absolutely drenched, and he and those men, they've been through a shipwreck. Who does that? It's raining now, and they think for once, they're like, at least there's a bonfire. At least, man, that's nice.
Yeah.
I'll take that on. Freezing cold.
Come on.
Guys, get your covers. Cover up Paul. Paul, he said it would happen. Cover up Paul, man.
Yeah.
And they're and they're counting 1, 2, 7, 5, 9, 17, and Carl's here and Chris is here, and they're counting and they're like, we all made it.
Right.
We all made it.
We made it.
But check this out, and this is the craziest part of the story. I mean, do your biblical due diligence when you read on it, because I'm not going to read any more scripture. But like Hollywood can't even write the type of stuff that just happens after this moment. This is crazy. Shipwreck happens. They're freezing. They're cold. They made it. They floated.
Yeah.
They made it. Yeah. And their lifeboat that's out there somewhere. And then all of a sudden, out of the fire, a snake.
Right.
Out of the fire,
Yeah.
a snake.
Yeah. Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
Guys, your reaction wasn't good enough. I'm sorry.
Come on.
Out of the fire, a snake
That's right.
jumps out of the fire.
That's what happened.
Where did the snake jump out of?
Fire.
Something that we thought was so nice. Like, oh, I'm finally getting a break. I'm finally getting,
Yeah.
I can finally sit down.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can finally chill for a moment.
Yeah.
But no, out of the fire, the snake was flying out. Guys, I told you, what does the snake represent? Guys, it's Satan himself.
Right.
El Diablo, man. Hell itself is fighting Paul now.
Right.
You thought the shipwreck was bad? Wait till you face him.
Yeah. Right. Right. Come on. That's right. Lord.
And what does it do? Hell itself jumps out at Paul, and it begins to wrap itself. It calls it a viper, and begins to wrap itself around its arm, and it begins to bite on Paul. And all the people are around there watching him. All the men are like, holy cow, that's a viper, and it's biting him. And they're waiting for Paul to drop dead. They're waiting for him to drop dead.
Come on. Come on. Yeah. Watch God. God's plan.
How many times?
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
How many times have you been at the doctor, or you've taken your family to the doctor, and you got to get on this new medication, and your Facebook friends are like, man, when is that guy just going to die already? Your family's like, when is that guy just going to die already? Just drop over, you're done. You're done. You're spent. How many times has that happened? How many times? So let's recap this. I mean, this is crazy. Hurricane, prisoner, shipwreck, going through hell all night long. Shipwrecked, floated in the sea, made it to Malta by holding the broken pieces. He's tired, he's wet, he's cold, he's physically exhausted, he's spent. And now fight after fight after fight after fight, a viper begins to bite him. Guys, this right here, if you don't get anything else, get this right here. When you've been through too much, instead of falling into the trap of the enemy, we can learn one final thing from Paul. He takes that viper and everybody else is expecting him to drop dead. And Paul chooses to live.
Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
He chooses to live even when it hurts the most. And he takes it. And he shakes it off.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord.
Hallelujah.
He shakes the snake off.
Yes.
Right in front of everybody that's watching. Could you imagine that? What can we learn from that?
Come on.
You imagine the men sitting around
Yeah.
and it's wrapping them up.
Yeah.
And all the guys, and Paul just grabs that thing and he says, listen here, sunshine. Listen here.
Yeah.
That's good, Breck.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
That's good. Lord.
Off for the fire.
He
Hallelujah.
says, listen here, sunshine. 5 months ago, 5 weeks ago, or even 5 days ago, seeing you would have scared the mess out of me and it would have caused me to run for the hills. But devil, I've just been through a shipwreck.
Yeah.
And you should have killed me when you had the chance.
Come on.
Come on.
Hallelujah.
What does Paul do? He doesn't talk to the problem. He doesn't accommodate the
No,
problem.
he doesn't.
He doesn't get on Facebook and start posting about his problem. He doesn't gossip about the problem. He takes the problem and he says, you should have killed me when you had the chance. And he
Right.
shakes the problem.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Come on. Awesome. Lord have mercy. Glory to God. Glory to God. Hallelujah.
Thank you, Lord.
Powerful.
Powerful. Powerful.
Hallelujah.
Glory.
Glory to God.
Dear Father God, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Jesus.
Thank you for meeting us, dear God.
Thank you.
Thank you for meeting us here today. I know this word was for somebody because there was too much battling
Yeah. That's right.
just to try to stop today from happening.
Hallelujah.
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 God, I ask that your word would be planted like a seed into these hearts. God, let the Holy Spirit water it. Let them remember this moment as
He don't know about Kondaya Bahaya. He don't know about Kondaya. He Sundaya. He Bahaya. He don't know Bahaya. I say to you today, my word has gone forth. What will you do with it? What will you do with it? Do not leave here ignoring my word, because I'm here to tell you today, and I sent my servant to say, you will make it. You will make it. If you rely on me and lean upon me, you will make it. Thus saith the Almighty God.
Hallelujah. 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 Glory to God. Hallelujah. Wonderful.
praise him.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
I just got one song I want you guys to listen to, and as you're praising, I want you to really focus in on these words. Really listen and worship. Just take a moment and listen to these words here for me.
Hallelujah. Praise God, praise God, praise God, praise God.
Thank you.
Hallelujah.
Thank you, Jesus.
be God. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. Jesus, God, thank you for using me today. Thank you for this church. God, thank you for speaking to us, meeting us here. Thank you for letting us know that we're going to make it. Because you said we're going to make it. It's up to us now. What are we going to do with it? Amen and amen. Thank you guys so much. Praise God.